we know the stereotypes. We don't even have to, well, okay, I'll go there anyway. The stereotypes like cats are aloof, cats are independent, cats have their own lives and can't be bothered with us. Cats will eat us when we're not looking. Okay, I'm going a little far afield. Let me just say, when we had to experience lockdown, when we were all sheltering in place for however long that was, one of the things that happened was, number one, people adopted more cats and dogs. Suddenly, we were together in this place. The existing animals that were in our homes were like, wait a minute, you guys aren't going anywhere? Like, we got to share this space? And maybe there was a little bit of at the beginning of that. But then there was an opposite effect when we all started going back out again, going to work, whatnot. And then we started noticing a little something off in our cats. Now that phenomenon called separation anxiety would have at one point been regarded with such a dismissal. In dogs, we totally identify separation anxiety, that when certain dogs are separated from their humans for a very short amount of time sometimes, as little as 15 minutes, they start to panic. But now we found very conclusively, as if the proof wasn't already there, yes, cats experience separation anxiety, and it's very serious, or can be, and people would come home and their cats would have torn themselves up sometimes, and they wondered what they were looking at. Well, I'm telling you, that's called separation anxiety. It existed before the pandemic. It exists now. And I'm here to tell you what it looks like in your cat and what you can do to help your cat out when they are in the throes of separation anxiety. The first thing you want to look for is actually before you ever leave the house. So you're going through all your motions and your cat is just pacing all over the place. Any sign of agitation while you're getting ready, while you're going through your motions in the morning, is a sign. What about vocalization? I mean, if your cat is normally a chatterbox, that's one thing.
What? Melly, it's been like 6 hours. Yeah. Melly, this is not even the longest you've ever been left.
But as you're going through your morning, if suddenly you realize that your cat is just really chattering, meowing at you, soliciting attention, weaving around you, those types of things that are like, hey, pay attention to me, getting agitated as you're getting ready to leave. What about the other? Especially if your cat is usually out and about and suddenly you're like, where is he? As you're getting ready to leave, that removal from the environment. Another thing that you would see is destructive behavior. I mean, you leave the house, you come back, and it is destroyed. Hey, Chester, I'm home. Oh my God. And that's pooping or peeing on the bed. Pooping we see a lot of, but peeing as well, and it happens specifically on your bed. Here is an example of separation anxiety that a lot of you have seen before. So you are getting ready to go on a trip. Out comes the suitcase. And then the next thing you know, you have a suitcase that's been peed on or in. That happens. And it doesn't just happen before you leave as an anticipatory thing. You come back from that trip and you're like, oh, I'm too tired to unpack, and you just take out a few things and off you go. And in the morning, that suitcase has been peed on or in. It's a manifestation of the same anxiety. And finally, it happens not after an hour, but after about 15 minutes. When they realize that this is now a thing, then they start to panic and everything goes south. But here's the thing. You say to me, Jackson, those are great symptoms that I can look for, except I can't look for it because I'm not home when it's happening. Well, I thought of that, so just don't worry about it. This is why I would make a strong case for surveillance cameras. Wow. I mean, yikes. And there's a whole different number of brands out there. And to be completely honest, all those sort of top tier brands, pretty much the same thing, but they really have great benefits. Number one, they have motion sensors on them. So as soon as there's anything going on around the house, they'll see it. It has that nice wide camera angle, so you can put it up somewhere like in a socially significant area, mainly the living room, the bedroom, something like that. They have night vision, just in case you happen to work the night shift. And you can take those clips, take them out, send them to someone like me who goes, yeah, that's probably separation anxiety. But no matter what, you can take an inventory of these behaviors at the end of the day. And like I said, 15 minutes or so after you leave, if these things start to intensify, that's your surefire sign you're dealing with separation anxiety. So let's get into what causes separation anxiety. I know you might think that that's totally obvious. Well, yeah, Jackson, it's separation and they're anxious. Gotcha, right there. You know, at the top I mentioned about that real heavy change in routine, that when we started just spending all of our time at home and there is no break from us, that absolutely, a significant change in routine. You may see it happen after you've moved house and you got to move house, set up shop, and quickly you're going out to work. That can do it as well. Remember, cats are so incredibly routine driven. That's something that if broken can be a problem. Now, there's other things like past trauma, that if a cat has abandonment in their past, and I know this is going to sound really sad, there's a lot of cases I know where folks moved out of the house and just left the cat there. That is also a thing. But you've got to imagine trauma definitely affects our behaviors in current situations, so it may for cats as well. And what about a change in your relationship status? Especially, you know, if one of the people who was caring for the cat did a lot of the caring and you break up and that person is gone, yeah, now the onus is on you to provide all of that, but if you leave the house, there can also give way to separation anxiety. Now, all the things we're talking about right now are experiences and contexts, but what about the other? The other being genetics. Yeah, for sure. It's nature and nurture. I've seen kittens come from the same mom, one of whom is just walking around the house like they own the joint, and then you've got the one who, without the leadership of that first one, is under the bed, you know? And so it just depends on who that is, you know? And the combination, nature, nurture, can lead, for sure, to a higher rate of separation anxiety. And I'm sure that there are other causes to separation anxiety, other symptoms that I haven't even touched on before, because I don't even know them, but that's where you come in. I would love to hear what your experiences are with separation anxiety, what has triggered your cat, what you have seen in terms of behavioral changes and what you've done to help them through it by putting it in the comments below. That's what makes this community tick. I'm not going to pretend that I know everything there is to know about this. You do as well. So let me know. And by the way, while you're at it, you can also subscribe to the channel so you know when premieres are happening, when we have special live streams, etc. And please, you know, this is a great video, is it not? Yeah, Jackson, it is. Give me a thumbs up as well. So, some of or all of what I've been talking about rings a very significant bell, or you've done what I said, you stopped this video, went out, got yourself some cameras, looked at it and go, yeah, for sure. Just the destruction alone, the timing of it, the whole thing, I know that he's going through separation anxiety. Now, what can we do about it? Yep, I talk about it all the time, so I'm not going to go into great detail, but the 3 R's, routine, ritual, rhythm. What, you haven't seen a video with the 3 R's in it yet? Well, I'll start with this one, but there's a whole bunch of them. And the idea is that ritual is paramount to a cat's life. They are so tied to it. And as we've been talking about, the absence of and the anticipation of the absence of this sort of stable sameness is what in part contributes. So really lean into your 3 R's. Meal times are really important because that way, not only through play and meals and these regular ways of sort of constructing and really dialing in circadian rhythm, you can kind of make sure that even if they have this spike in energy as you're leaving, which we'll talk about in a minute, you can still rest assured to a certain degree that come that afternoon, they're going to start coming down a little bit. And then you come home and that spike is not going to be as spiky. The downs are not as down, the ups are not as up because we are regulating their lives. The 3 R's, learn more about it right there. And besides watching videos, check out my book, Total Cat Mojo, right there, because it talks about the 3 R's and literally everything else I'm talking about here all in one place. Speaking of things I talk about all the time, catification, environmental enrichment, because it's important for what reason, would you think, around separation anxiety? More places to go are important. Guiding them towards the window, for sure, is great, where they can participate in cat TV. The idea that every window in the house should have a place to sit so they can follow the sun over the course of the day. Cat TV, get some bird feeders, put them outside, give them an activity that, even though it's passive, is something they just can't ignore. This video right here talks about that maximum benefit. That's what I'm saying. It's so important. I made a whole video about it. Speaking of cat TV, I love the whole, YouTube channels where it's squirrels and birds and that kind of thing. I would love for you to put it on a timer of sorts because all day long of that, number one, you're desensitizing them to the experience. Number two, if I was trapped in a room with the same thing all day long, I'd lose my mind. And these guys at this point with separation anxiety don't need any help. So put it on a timer, and it's a great thing to put on before you leave the house, just as a matter of of course, up comes this, and then into that time of being alone, there is something going on to occupy them. So, I talk about base camp a lot, the idea that your cat should have a place to go, sort of their panic room of sorts. So if there's something going on around, they always can surround themselves with their resources, their smells, and your smell as well to remind them of safety. Yes, Jackson, you're saying, but that backfires here because during separation anxiety, they may actually have that inappropriate kind of reassurance by peeing and pooping on the bed. The solution to that is getting base camp out of base camp. The concept that all of these important resources can be all over the house. You can scent soak something inside your bedroom in the base camp and then move it on out. Cat trees and chill mats and houses and beds, anything that smell like you, smell like them, put it all over the house so that safety isn't only in one place for the sake of your separation anxiety cat. So now for certain cats, not all of them, but certain cats, if they're solo cats especially, and you've got one cat in the house and you've got you, and then the separation is magnified by 100, 2 is better than 1. And I would try introducing a new cat into the home. I know, lots of changes can make for more anxiety, but look for someone who complements the anxiety that they're feeling. So for instance, we were talking before about you've got the really confident mojito cat who explores the world, and the one who takes their cue from that cat, and without them, they tend to shrink back. If you introduce somebody who is confident, who does like exploring space and has that sort of swagger about them when it comes to owning the space, there is a little bit of learning by watching. And yeah, you also want to adopt somebody who's already well socialized to other cats and who also has that sense of belonging to cats as much as with humans. And that is something to explore for sure. Now it's time, my friends, to talk about you. And you play a major part in the formation of the anxiety and the diffusing of the anxiety. So my big lean in this one is your energy when you're leaving the house. Now, especially if you've already diagnosed it, that what you're watching here and you've looked at cameras and you go, oh man, the poor guy is just suffering while I'm gone. So then what you're trying to do as you get ready to leave is reassure them that everything's going to be okay. But no, that's not what you're doing at all. So instead of reassuring, what you're doing is foreshadowing, and all you're doing is ramping up the moment. So if you have that urge to just soothe, let me tell you something, don't. And in your head, it looks like this. Okay, baby, I'm gonna leave the house, but it's no big deal. I'm gonna go to the market, and then I'm gonna go, just run a few errands. I'm just gonna be gone for a little bit. You're gonna just fall asleep, and you won't even know it. Okay, baby, I love you, bye. But to your cat, it looks like this. You're gonna be alone forever. It's okay. You handled yourself just fine all this time. You're independent. You're aloof anyway. You don't care whether I live or die. So I'm gonna walk out, and you may never see me again. Okay, bye, baby. See where I'm going? The result? Do not make a big deal about leaving. Literally walk out of the house. What you're doing is you're saying this moment to this moment means nothing at all because I'll be back. And that says a lot more than this moment to this moment is a big deal and I understand. So you know how before I was talking about the 3 R's and the importance of ritual? Well, in this case, we got to start switching it up a little bit. A little bit of a curveball in the mornings is a good thing when it comes to your cats because they're smart. They can hear the jangling of the keys, the car keys getting ready to go, and that cues them to get going. In my case, that making of the coffee, big deal. So one of the keys here is you being really mindful about your morning routine and how each action affects your cat. So it could just very well be, like I said, with the car keys. That means when you put your pants on, put the car keys in there, And then your cat's like, oh no, something bad's gonna happen. But another half hour goes by and nothing does. So we are desensitizing them to a stimulus that they had already associated with something bad. So just switch it up. When it comes to their routines, you can do stuff like puzzle toys. Puzzle toys are amazing, especially if it's a jackpot type treat that goes in there. So what you can do is get their morning meal just a little bit smaller and then space it out just a little bit. And before you leave, you're giving them a puzzle toy with the great stuff in it. Now here's the important part. You have to space it far enough away from you leaving so that the association isn't locked in that with the presentation of a toy leaves mom. The toy comes, mom or dad goes. That's what we want to avoid, So do it varying times during the morning to space it apart from their meal just a little bit. I know when we are getting up in the morning and if you work outside of the house or you got appointments and you got places to be, people to see, the last thing that you want to do is find that time to play with your cat. but that is a really wonderful time to play with your cat. When you wake up in the morning, you know how you have that burst of energy. Even if you're really tired, it doesn't matter because you know, your body knows this is what we do. That's circadian rhythm. Your cat's energy matches yours. So when you get up in the morning, the cats are like, whoop, I'm right there with you. They're getting ready for everything that's about to come. You leave your cat vibing here at an 8 and you walk out the door and they're already prone to that anxiety. What do you think's going to happen? Structure playtime, again, well before you leave the house, but after their meal. So it's just, we're just encouraging that body down into rest and get them nice and settled before we go. Now, as always, we want to address the part where, okay, we've done all of this work, this sort of desensitizing, cognitive work, and actual soothing, and getting them in rhythm, and still, we've got that genetic part of your cat that is just not responding. Then we got to look into management that goes outside of both you and your cat, and that would come in the form, first of all, of medication. I will remind you to do your due diligence about any of this stuff because you are, at the end of the day, your cat's best advocate, and most of the times, only true advocates. So learn it. If your vet is running certain names of medications by you, research them, find out how it's worked for other people, and especially other people with cats like yours. There's also holistic modalities, including the flower essence remedies that I work with. They've been known to be great complementary therapies to the other stuff that we're talking about here. And that includes formulas like my separation anxiety when you leave and when you come home, a little bit of stress stopper just to bring the temperature down a little bit. The thing I would say about whether they're pheromones and holistic remedies like flower essences or CBD or actual pharmaceuticals is that they are not the be-all, end-all. That I want you to try all these other things that we're talking about. These are great complementary things, and in some cases you may need to lean on it, but you won't know until you're leaning on all of the rest of it. Yes, my good friends, separation anxiety, as you know now, is a thing. So take it seriously and let me know, like I said before, if you've seen it in your cat or dog, if you've seen things work that I haven't listed here, and if you've seen things that people should be watching out for, then absolutely make it a part of the conversation down below. I just love watching these conversations unfold and for me to participate in as well. And we'll do a follow-up on this if you want me to. All right, everybody, until next time, give your cats a hug, but not too close to the time when you leave the house, right? All right, I'm not going anywhere. Light, love, and mojo to you. Meow.